Gentlemen No Class is proud to be a part of the HC Universal Network. Gentlemen No Class is produced, mixed, and edited by M5 Studios.
This podcast contains explicit language and is intended for adult audiences. The views and opinions of Gentlemen No Class are strictly for comedic purposes and should not be taken literally. For instance, like this disclaimer. Now grab yourself a pint and enjoy.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of Gentlemen No Class, a podcast that when the going gets weird, the weird turn pro. I'm Jake.
And I'm Rob.
Paul.
And hey, Paul. And like it or not, ladies and gentlemen, we are the hosts for this episode. And I am wearing the same shirt as last episode. Thanks, Rob, for calling me out.
I fucking told you.
Yeah, it's okay.
He's saying you're dirty.
It's okay.
I mean, I called it out.
Lazy.
I called you out on it off air. You didn't have to bring it up on air.
I mean, that the two people that watch this are going to be like, hey, that guy was wearing the same shirt.
They're not going to know.
They might get that right.
They're going to think that I did a costume change in between the episodes.
We actually record these like back to back to back, so it's the same day. We just don't know that.
This is live. We're doing it live. Doing it live, baby.
Lazy
I feel good.
fuck.
You're a lazy fuck.
I feel good too.
Well, you know what it is? I think it's these sexy lights that Rob installed.
Yeah.
They do make things
that's
look
it.
a lot
The
better.
tones, you can see my Mexican skin a little bit.
That's
more.
what
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
what
they
meant.
need a little bit of adjustment, but it's way better than it was. And these things were. Let me see if I got a camera shot so people can kind of see this a little bit.
There you go.
This is
Hey.
we got these lights. We should get like a sponsorship deal from Newer on. I got
just
these on
keep
Amazon.
spamming them.
So
Keep spamming them. That's how you do it.
They're bringing,
Just be annoying.
Like they have pretty good
Antagonize
product, man.
them.
I mean, they were like one of the when it first came out, like intro level stuff. But this stuff is pretty professional looking, man.
It is pretty legit. I like these. They're adjustable. The warmth on them is adjustable. So like if you have a decent camera setup where like, you know, like for us, we have a couple different cameras. This camera up here. I mean, this is a nice little GoPro. It's no GoPro 10 that just got released or whatever. But see, this is what happens. Like when you have a GoPro, like it
SD card.
it jumps back and
want
forth.
that 4:3 ratio.
Yeah. So I can't control it. It just does that. All the GoPros do that. So if you're gonna be
lazy in the settings,
whatever, dude. If you're gonna podcast and live stream, don't use a GoPro because they do weird shit. So
and there goes our sponsorship for GoPro.
Nah, fuck them. We've already replaced them. So like,
Yeah,
if you're thinking about live stream podcasting, like we use, and I mean, you can use whatever you want, but these seem to be working really well for us. This Sony, this is an A.
6,000?
6400.
No, that's a 64.
This is a 6400, yeah. And then this one that Paul is on over here is a 6000. So
keep him 1080. Let's throw him. They're all 1080. I know
they're
right
all
now,
1080.
but I mean,
Yeah, they're all
64 can do
1080,
4K.
baby.
It can be, but it won't live stream in 4K.
It's fine,
so.
but you can shoot 4K. I'm trying to make a jab at Paul. Just roll with it, please.
All right, I got you.
Didn't even hear it.
That hair.
Nobody cares.
I know. Yeah.
It's that couple bowls that you smoked outside.
We pulled up in the driveway and Melissa goes, what's
Two. No, one. It was just
Melissa
one.
goes, what's Paul's mom's name? And I was like, I said it wrong. I said Celia, and she was like, "So why does it say CJ loves DJ?" And I was like, "Oh, it's Delia. That's right.
Yeah.
I was close.
Delia.
It's close.
Delia. Yeah.
Celia, Delio. Same thing.
Whatever.
I've met one other Delia in my life, and that was a couple of years ago when I was doing. It was a project for FEMA after Harvey, and she was just for like a government funded and just helping her out, and it was sweet because she was Hispanic too, and like she just reminded my mother, and I almost cried. I told her, it's like, I never met anybody. I was like, Mom, that's my mom's name. It's like, I never met anybody ever with that name.
Boring.
Fuck you. I'm pouring my fucking heart out.
That's funny. All
right, that's fine. Okay. That's a little better. That's fine. That's a compromise. Okay.
All right, just bring up the little conversation. The Texans are back in action.
They're still fucking terrible.
No,
Although
they're not.
I did watch that first game. Who did they play?
The Jags. Okay, they're handing out touchdowns.
They kicked the fuck out of the Jags.
Did, but I mean, we'll see. They're playing against the Browns this Sunday, and that's going to be.
Are the Browns any good?
No, they're great actually this year.
Oh, okay.
But yeah,
Sports.
I know, right?
Oblong throwing sphere.
Nice.
Yeah.
A bunch of guys just in
Guys in
tights,
tights, yeah.
hugging each other for this ball. Looks like a
Speaking
nut.
of guys in tights, have you been watching
No.
Heels?
Heels.
Our good buddy Ryan the Bear Davidson.
Oh yes,
It's not a starring role, but it is a.
No, I have not seen it though.
He plays like I think it's on Stars, I want to say.
Nice.
But he's in there like a lot of the Booker T guys, they film a lot of that with their facilities and stuff. So he plays some of the he plays one of the wrestlers, kind of in the background. I don't think he
Nice.
has any speaking roles, but as they're doing stuff like
That's cool.
you can see him in the background and stuff in matches and
Nice.
stuff. You can see him
Way to go,
doing some
Ryan.
cool shit.
Hell yeah,
So
on your
have
way
to-
up, little by
we'll have to-
little.
we'll have to see how that goes, and if it like fleshes out into something cool, we'll have to
Humble
bring him back
beginnings,
on.
Ryan.
Bond and still some
Right,
of his
Joe
audience,
Buca,
yeah.
I
Joe
mean,
Buca,
excuse me.
I saw him post a video of him actually doing like a spinning top rope splash on somebody or two people or something like that. I'm like, dang, that guy's fucking moving on up, man.
Yeah,
Working on his moves.
He's definitely like whatever's going on in that Heels show. Like that is I haven't. I'll be honest with you. I haven't seen it either. But it's you have. You're a wrestling fan, right? So like heels are like the guys that you love to hate. You know what I mean? Those are the bad guys. You know what I mean? So that he's like I guess it's two brothers like vying for control of their father's wrestling empire after he dies, like trying to take it mainstream or something
So wait,
like
hold
that.
on. This is an actual like show, or is it like a?
It's not a
docuseries?
documentary. It's not a documentary or docuseries. It's an actual like. It's a
So there's
fictional
acting.
show.
So there's acting.
Yeah. So
very cool.
So Ryan does he's you see him in the background doing a lot of stuff in a lot of the matches and stuff. He's very prominently presented. He has a pretty unique look, so you can pick him out. You know what I mean?
Very cool.
He wears his own. It says RDB Ryan Davidson Bear whatever it is. You can tell it's him. So he's very hard to miss.
Exactly.
Especially after the shaved head and everything.
Yeah, he did
Nice.
go shaved head. That's awesome.
Hell yeah,
That
kicking
guy is
ass,
very
Ryan.
dedicated to his craft, man, and I got to give him to him. I remember
Yeah,
he was talking
very
about how he went
passionate.
to what's that A&M in El Paso, I believe it's called.
Oh yeah.
West Texas A&M.
Yeah.
And that's where all the wrestlers went to. And that's the
Yeah.
reason why he went to that
I
fucking
mean,
school. That's insane.
He's got drive. He's
Yeah.
determined.
Yeah.
He knows what he wants, and he's doing what he's gonna have to do. That's what it takes, folks, to become. To just achieve things.
Yeah, sure.
Just humble beginnings. People forget or just don't know. It's kind of funny. People just. Get mad at people who are successful or rich and whatnot. Is like they weren't. There was a point in their life they weren't like what they are now. Like they were, they started with nothing,
right?
And they worked their way up,
right?
And
For
it just
sure.
I don't know. Just people just get people get upset about shit.
It's just determination. Like
you can do it. It just determination.
My wife's a relative is a doctor, and he's like, I mean, I'm not smarter than you. It just I had an endless amount of money, so to say.
Mm-hmm.
To retake these fucking classes and
Yeah.
just keep the drive, just keep going and going
Yeah.
and going. Just like this podcast. What episode are we on?
Fucking 7.
This is
Yeah,
episode
3.
93. So yeah, like it's not that we have like an infinite amount of like. It's just we have. And not an infinite amount of money either. We haven't.
We're here.
We have enough money. We have enough money to where like we can keep things interesting for us. And that's the one thing. If you're ever thinking about starting a podcast, that's one thing to think about. If it doesn't sound good, it won't. If it doesn't sound good and doesn't look good, you won't pursue it any further than that. So that's always a thing to think about. You know what I mean? If you're gonna, what like Ron Swanson says, don't half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing. You know what I mean?
There you go. And who's Ron Swanson?
From Parks and Rec?
Mustache.
Nick Offerman's character. Yeah, see, Paul knows.
Okay, yeah.
Paul
Mustache,
knows.
man.
Losers.
Yeah.
Fucking losers.
What?
Yeah.
So anyway, we were debating back and forth on what topic to do the podcast on. So I thought, since the trailer dropped and Paul watched it, I thought that it would be a good idea to do it on the new Matrix Resurrections movie that's coming out, and it's dropping pretty quick. I thought it was interesting that it's dropping as fast as. Did you find that interesting, Paul? Like, it's dropping in like December. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Well,
speaking of sidetrack real quick, I just saw the trailer for Venom Carnage. Remember I asked you like 2 weeks ago? Damn, excuse me. Do you know about that?
Yeah, we've all seen it.
What? I didn't even know. That's why I asked you if there was another like sequel
trailer
to Venom, and you said no. There was
I
nothing.
thought you had already known about the Carnage because you were like, I want to see a Carnage standalone movie. I thought that you were referring to a Carnage standalone movie.
No. I was talking about
Oh, okay, yeah.
Sequel,
so there's already like
Venom.
2 trailers for it. Yeah, there's a sequel, the Venom 2. Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage. So Woody Harrelson's
what
playing.
it is, I think the way he becomes Carnage in the movie, I think it shows it in the trailer. Like, I think Eddie Brock goes and visits him, I believe.
He bites him.
And bites him.
Which
and gnaws on his finger, and then he got a little bit of
in his blood. Yeah, which is where, I mean, the symbiote.
The symbiote
comics no, not really. No. Like, so in the comics, like, in the comics, like, the symbiotes are, what is it, asexual? So, like, they just spawn offspring.
Yeah.
So the Venom symbiote spawns an offspring while Eddie Brock is at the prison. And it kind of like hides in Cletus Cassidy's cell and then bonds with him. And as every generation, like they all have different characteristics and things like that. So like the one that bonds with Cletus Cassidy does bond to his blood instead of like a normal way. But the black chick that's in the trailer, I don't know if you saw that, but like she's going to be playing Shriek, which is another symbiote. But I don't know. We'll see how it kind of plays out, but it's weird that they still haven't wrapped in like. Okay, so I'll just throw like this. When Venom initially came on scene, right? Venom came on scene and he had powers similar to Spider-Man because he had bonded to Spider-Man first and absorbed some of Peter Parker's powers. Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah,
Peter Parker's powers.
Penis's powers.
So that
Peter
is
Parker's
not
penis's
happening.
powers.
So obviously, like the Venom symbiote hasn't met Peter Parker yet. It just bonded with Eddie Brock. So that hasn't happened. So if you've noticed, like, there's not really any, like, they're doing a good job of, like, keeping away, like, spider powers away from him. But, like, eventually it's got to happen, right?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, we've got to be able to see
spin a
that.
web or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the comics, like, he at least web slings, you know what I mean? Like, he shoots out of his hand.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
But anyway, so in the comics, like it's a symbiote spawn of Venom that becomes Carnage, and then there's multiple different spawns that happen along the line. Carnage being one of the more ferocious ones, but I mean there's other ones that spawn off of Carnage, like Toxin and Shriek,
Chaos,
and there's I forget what all the names of them are. But you hadn't seen the trailer. I thought that you had seen the trailer.
No, I saw part of it when I was at this restaurant earlier today.
Oh,
but
okay.
anyway, back to Matrix. You're
tired of Venom and Carnage?
No, because I sidetracked. I didn't mean to. Like we're just on a tangent, but we're gonna stay focused on that, right?
Yeah,
right?
well,
right?
I mean that's the idea.
Breakdown of the trailer, like from what I gathered, is I'm kind of confused. I saw it once, but is this another reality or what is?
Did you see all 3 Matrix movies?
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually watched them recently earlier this year.
I'm going to go back and rewatch them now. But if you remember, like the deal, so the deal was is that
the best.
It is the best.
Which one?
The first one, yeah.
So if you remember, like the deal is that Neo makes like along the lines of him, moving where he's at, he meets the architect, right? And the architect explains to him that he's the 6th iteration of this anomaly that happens, that to the best of the architect's ability, he can't get out of the code. So he's coded the Matrix, and for some reason he's tried to code like there's this random jumbling of code that forms itself into into this anomaly that becomes Neo, right? So through the best of his abilities, he's not able to decode that out of the Matrix. He's tried, and Neo says, but I'm different. And he says, well, no, you're the sixth iteration of the anomaly. This has all happened before. And he shows him like all the different times that he's talked to him, and they all make the same choice. But Neo is different in the sixth iteration. He makes a different choice. He chooses Trinity over himself, and so Neo goes with Trinity to try to stop, to get a truce in the war, right? So the war is over because the Matrix has become overridden by the computer virus known as Agent Smith, right? So Neo's like, if you let humans leave by their own volition, like I will go in, and even if I have to sacrifice myself, I will rid the Matrix of the virus known as Smith, because it's grown beyond your control, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So it's he goes in, and there's a very like Christ-like thing that happens, and he becomes, he sacrifices himself, and he's dead, and then the Matrix is all good, and the architect and the Oracle are talking at the end, and there's a beautiful sunrise, and it's a whole different, like all the green overtones of the Matrix are kind of gone at that point, and it's a bright sunrise on the city, and humans have the ability to leave the Matrix if they would like,
So it's balance. That's what it seems like.
I don't know.
It feels like what you're describing. I never thought about it, but it feels like it's balanced because of the contrast of things you're saying. Hence, there's like a balance shifted. Like it's like a harmony in a way. Right. Like you said, like they're free to, if they want to do it, go ahead. If you're not, go ahead, stay.
Right.
And so you have the freedom to choose. That's huge. That's a very huge contrast.
Yeah. So you're right. So the humans, like, they shouldn't be stopped. The machines aren't going to be hunting the humans anymore.
Yeah.
But they're also not going to stop farming them. You know what I mean? So like they're still going to farm humans for energy, whatever.
Yeah.
So, and then we leave, Neo's dead, et cetera, whatever. So, in the beginning of this trailer, we see, Neo in present day time, 20 years later, talking to Neil Patrick Harris, as a psychiatrist.
Okay.
And Neo's taking the blue pills. He's taking these blue pills. There's a lot of symbolism in this. If you look, like Neil Patrick Harris's glasses are blue. Anything related to like the Matrix and control is blue, and anything related to like freedom is red. So if you watch the trailer, you can kind of see a couple of different things happen. It seems like there's some actual shots from the original movie happening in the trailer, there's some like cinematic shots of them being in like a movie theater, and like it looks like the original Matrix movie is being shown.
Oh wow.
So I think that what's going on is, I think that like in the movie they call him Mr. Anderson, so he's obviously Thomas Anderson. I think in the movie he is somehow like I think that he, like, they reinsert him into the Matrix, right? Because like either that or he's the seventh version of the anomaly, you know what I mean? Like, and it's coming full circle again. But in this iteration, humans have to have the ability to be free or not. So like he can't just like leave them alone. So they have to find a way, like the machines are trying to find a way to keep the humans in the Matrix and not want to get out. So if you watch the trailer, like the humans are like attached to their devices, kind of like we are now. It's kind of an allegory commentary on society also, just like the first one was.
Great.
But it seems like Neo's character in the movie, Thomas Anderson, is like either a movie designer or a game designer or something.
Yeah.
That he has taken his dreams of the Matrix, which was the first, movies. To him, he thinks they're dreams, and he's making them into pop culture. Like he's making like movies of that, like writing that script and starring in the movie, so that to the people that are inside the Matrix, they're watching the movie The Matrix, and they're like, oh man, that's so trippy. Kind of like we are Now, like if we were in a simulation, you know what I mean? Like it would be us watching The Matrix and being like, oh shit, you know what I mean? Oh, that's so cool. You know what I mean? But that's really happening inside the movie. So at least that's what it seems like to me. But then you get like the Morpheus character who they recast Morpheus. And there's a couple of scenes in the trailer where you see like Carrie-Anne Moss. And like, I think that like her and Neo's link is so important that like there's a couple of scenes in the trailer where you're like, oh, something's going on there. And they have like, there's a scene where you see like her or Neo like connected back like in a pod, but not until like the regular like scout base thing. You know what I mean? There's a bigger thing that like goes around their neck. It's almost like they bypass that port, you know what I mean? Into a different port. And it like Christina Ricci has been cast in this movie. And there's a shot that's new for this movie, and it looks like the shot from the opening scene from The Matrix where like she does that run up the wall and shit from the agents, you know what I'm talking about? But it never shows her, Carrie-Anne Moss's face. So I think that's going to be like Christina Ricci's character, and she's going to be like another.
I forgot she's in there.
Yeah, so there's like a bunch of cool shit that happens in this movie.
Yeah.
And I think that that's where they're going to go with it. I think it's going to be like, this is kind of like Inception, like The Matrix is a thing inside of the movie, but Neo still has control because he's the one and they've made the truce, and like there's a fight sequence between him and the Morpheus character, and like he instantly like fucking like just demolishes the whole building with one hit. And like
who recasted Morpheus? Who's rolling with Morpheus? Have any names? Or no?
I don't remember the guy's name. Paul, do you know the guy's name?
Lawrence Fishburne?
No, it's in this one. It's like Yaya or something.
It's a different orc. Or I mean,
they recast him.
Why is that?
It's a younger version, so I think that it's like
and fat as fuck. I think. I mean, we all get there for the most part.
Wow, Bob.
So for some reason, I thought
you lazy fuck.
so like, does JoJo make an appearance in this shit? Because he's saying that JoJo. Mojo. Excuse me.
Does he?
I don't know.
Mojo JoJo.
That'd be great.
Because you're talking about like fucking someone, like kind of sound like someone's pulling the strings, and there's alternate universe.
Well, I don't think it's an alternate universe. It's like
alternate reality.
It's not an alternate reality.
Well, I'm saying like fan, fiction, whatever.
Exactly.
You can merge it, fusion. You know, like, well, fucking, why not? Find a way to bridge that gap. Baby.
So what did you take away from that trailer, Paul?
Man, I don't know. It's just I just don't know what to expect. I'm saying like, what's the dilemma, or what is? I don't know.
What do you mean?
Well, the conflict in the film, like what is why is it why another film? Like, what's going on?
Well, it seems like he's been resurrected and like he's having to fight for these people's freedoms again, and not really knowing like what's going to happen with that. You know what I mean? Like, how do you move past that? You know what I mean? Because there's so many things that happen in the first Matrix movie. Like, how are they back alive? I mean, it just gives you a lot of questions. It's like, they agreed, like the machines agreed to let humans out. They agreed, to all these things. But I mean, the thing is like, I don't know. It's just odd to me because they seem to have like given up that, like they did something to like kind of fuck them on it. You know what I mean? Be like, yeah, we'll let you out. But then they changed the Matrix to the point where people don't want out. You know what I mean? You can't even convince somebody that the Matrix is fake. Kind of like nowadays, where even presented with facts, you still think that like that's not the truth. So I think it's going to be kind of a allegorical commentary on today's society and our like dependence on the internet for information and like two versions of the truth kind of thing, and like Neo like realizing that like what's going on versus like what's like what the Matrix really is, and like do you really want people out of the Matrix? Like, because if you're living in the real world, in the free world, like is that really something that's better?
Yeah, you gotta go get a fucking job.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Perspective.
Like,
I don't know. Some people would want to actually
ultra.
Honestly, it's funny because that reality is coming. That's gonna happen. Neural linking or just. Well, I mean, that's kind of maybe where the message of the film could, also, well, another message, maybe like just commentary, social commentary, because it's happening. Some people are gonna want to upload their brain, their conscious to or whatever. I don't know.
Who knows?
Just
if it does, it's not gonna be in
transhumanism.
our lifetime. I think it'll be way in the future.
I think that'll happen. It'll be getting close to it. I think because the acceleration of technology is
unless we kill ourselves,
it's evolving very quickly. I don't know if you notice things like the past 10 years. Technology is just it's fucking crazy how fast.
There's no need for textbooks anymore.
Yeah, a lot of things. There's a lot of things.
Textbooks anymore. It's just all digital.
I mean, it's making a lot of things obsolete.
Yeah.
It's so quick. It's just fuck, man. Like it's crazy.
What do they really need though? Like, there's a certain element that they need, right? And if it goes out, then technology has to slow down. Like, what's like a conductor of electricity? It's like copper. What else?
Copper,
silver, and shit. Like
gold is the best conductor of electricity.
Until they come up with something else, I think if that runs out,
no. So once you like when you understand the basic physics of like if you're just talking about electrical conductivity, you want like the least amount of valence electrons that are easy to move, right? So that's gold. Gold is the ideal because it only has one orbit, because it's so low on the periodic table that its outer shell has one free valence electron, so it's easy to bounce to the next ones. I think it has one free. Anyway, that's it. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong about exactly like how many valence electrons it has.
Probably wrong already.
The basics of the reason gold is the way it is because it's low on the total number of free of total electrons, and it's easy.
Okay.
That's why gold is what it is, because I don't know if you remember like basic high school like physics, right? So like an atom has 2 electrons in its first valence orbit, and then 4, 4, 4, 4. All the rest of them have 4, right? So the conductivity is the ease of an electron to move from one atom to another, right, and that flow is the flow of current. Gold is the best because it only you're talking about that first orbit, or not the first orbit but the second orbit, so you have a stable first 2 electron orbit, and then the second orbit is the one that you can bounce from. I think that like when you're talking about what's like the element that what we need now is like, well, if we run out of silicone,
that's the point I was trying to get at.
Yeah.
Like, there's going to be something we're going to run out of that's going to slow down the production.
Yeah, and the balance
if we don't create a new technology.
Well, if we don't, and that brings us, and that brings us to quantum computing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just evolving, as we should. I mean,
right now it's ramping up so fast, right? But I think that because of lack of resources and we're not catching up to how fast we're going, it's going to have to slow down before it speeds up back up again.
So there's a law. It's Moore's law, and it says that the number of transistors on a microchip will double every 2 years, which means basically like computing power per microchip will double every 2 years. But like transistors are getting so small, like we're to the point now where like you can't by next year, transistors will be so small that the basic principles of like the way a transistor works, the electrical barrier in between the 2 different elements that create the way a transistor works will be so small it'll be less than an atom, which then the transistor won't work at all. Wow. So it's one of those things, like next year Moore's law is going to be kind of obsolete. We'll have reached that point where we can't fit any more transistors onto a microchip. So what's next?
Was it always 2 years from Moore's law?
It's always transistors will double every 2 years. Okay. So, and which means computing power will double every 2 years, and it's held pretty steady since the 80s when that came out. So the one of the bigger things is, so how do you get, like, how does technology progress past that, right? Past the point of the transistor? That's the easy answer, right? Make transistors smaller and smaller. They're talking about 6 nanometers now. Like, I mean, we're talking like microscopic, like almost to the point where you're talking like 3 or 4 atoms thick of element. You know what I mean? Like nothing.
Just thinking about that workhorse of a computer you have back there in your studio.
Yeah.
They kind of did the same thing with today's technology, with this year's laptop that they released with the M1 chip, Apple did, and that's pretty much you got your RAM, got your
can I get a beer? Maybe
your CPU, your hard disk drive, all together under one silicone chip, and that creates fast workflow. You'll be able to do what you.
That's all I got, baby.
Thank you.
You'll be able to do what you're doing on that computer on a laptop that's $600, $700 with an M1 chip now. Like you're able to freaking render 4K footage in like 5 minutes, 10 minutes of 4K footage in 5 minutes, when that usually takes like 2 hours on that type of machine or the machine I have at home. So stuff is moving faster and stuff is getting a lot smaller.
Sure.
Yeah.
But like, and that's what I'm saying is like, even with the M1 chip, like that's still, you're talking a 4-core chip. There's only so small that the transistors can get because the way a transistor works is you have 2 layers of one element with another layer in between it, right? And the barrier in between those 2 elements, when you apply electromotive force to one side of it, that turns on that becomes a switch. You get electrons moving back and forth freely, so you can conduct electricity through it. So when you have these 2 different elements, and you make them smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, smaller. You know what I mean? Like, but eventually the boundary between those elements gets to be to the point where it's almost non-existent. That's where we are now. So, like, if it gets any smaller, there won't be a boundary. Like, you won't get that free flow of electrons through there. They'll just, like, you can't.
Right.
It won't work.
So
that way.
it'll halt.
Yeah. So, and that's where we're at
right now.
Coming like 2022, we can't really make them any smaller. So that's where we get into. And I wish that I knew that we were, I wish I would have read this article that my mom sent me, but this is where we get into quantum computing. And so quantum computing, and I'm going to fuck this up. And this is,
oh, right.
Yeah, yes. I know you caught me on something I haven't researched. So, so quantum computing is, from my understanding, and this is, so if you think about a computer, how fast it can do calculations, right? That's all linear, right? It has to do one equation after another and get the answer and move down the line, right? You know what I mean? Like if you have an algorithm, it's moving, do this, and it does, if this, then that, and this, and that, it's moving very linear. With a quantum computer, it doesn't have to move linear. It can move in 3 dimensions, if that makes sense, where it can do multiple dimensions of computing at the same time. So something that, like an equation that maybe, would take even today's supercomputers a month to render. You know what I mean? Some of these like super complex calculus problems that they use to fucking find oil and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like these massive supercomputers that do these super complex algorithms that take, weeks, days, weeks, a month to render a solution to this problem. These quantum computers can do within a matter of like a minute.
That's crazy.
You know what I mean? Because they can do all of these things not only at the same time, but they can they don't have to compute linearly in a straight line. They can compute in multiple directions at the same time. So they, like, as one core is computing this, it's already seeing where this other core is predicting where that's going to go, and that's kind of what quantum computing is accurate predictive computing.
So I got you. So it's using different ways to find solutions, I guess you could say, right?
Yeah, and that's probably a really bad explanation the way that because I really don't.
What's funny?
It's super hard to understand.
It's kind of like I watched an episode of Doctor Who right before I got here, and it was about these aliens that took over this school, season 2.
I mean, you could have watched the Matrix Resurrections trailer.
I forgot what we're watching. He told us that we're going to do the Matrix like an hour before, but whatever. But
you were watching Doctor Who.
Well, of course, I'm zoned in. But to get to my point is that these aliens took over a school, and what it was is that they're trying to break the code to become gods. These aliens are, right? So they use these students, these kids, and plug them into computers. And once they're plugged in, they're hypnotized to the screen, and they're just fucking computing. And they're using everybody in the school to, what's that? What are we doing?
I'm pointing at the Venmo.
Oh, nice. Okay. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Pointing at your dick. Yeah. But no, they're using everybody, all the students, to do their fucking dirty work to crack this code to become God. So it's kind of the same thing. Maybe they're using other sources,
That's still like a very linear way to crack a code. You know what I mean? Like you're still not going.
Okay, yeah, it is. I guess
it's really like I really don't really. Obviously, if I understood quantum computing, I wouldn't be fucking doing this podcast. That's for damn sure. I'd be doing other shit.
That's true. Yeah.
But I mean, I think that's like if you talk about like what it would take to create a reality like the Matrix, like it would take quantum computing to be able to.
Would y'all want to live in that reality?
As opposed to like the other reality of war and like the Sentinels hunting you and shit like that.
The normal reality that we're living in now.
Like now, like where it go back
War's
to
been
like
around ever since the first day. You know.
So are you talking about like would I want to live in the Matrix as it existed when the first Matrix movie came out, like 1999, 2000? Instead of the world that we live in now, would I rather be plugged into the Matrix than be living in the free world?
Having the option.
Hold on. Yeah, if you are in the Matrix, do you know you're in the Matrix?
No.
Can you have the choice to know you're in the Matrix?
No. If you know,
well,
you're
the
out.
first Matrix, they know that they're in the Matrix.
No, they don't. They're not in the Matrix anymore.
Well, that'd be an interesting perspective. They're living their life, but they know they're in a Matrix. Like I don't know, the freedom to do that.
Just like that one Spielberg movie.
To know.
What's that one? Player.
Ready Player One.
Ready Player One.
That's a virtual
I watched that recently.
Oh, did you? Of course you did.
Yeah, that's fucking
that's
great,
a really
man.
good. That is a really good.
I love that movie, man.
But like, if you had that option to go in there, like just like in Black Mirror, I don't know if you've seen that episode where they kind of get plugged into the video game and create this world for themselves, and that's kind of like my world away from home.
Yeah, that's a virtual reality thing.
Yeah.
That's not really like that's not really what we're talking about here. We're talking about like would you
lower level.
Would you
maybe
want to be plugged into a virtual reality where you didn't know that was virtual reality? Like would you rather live in a world that was made up like the Matrix? Like would you rather live in that world not knowing that was that world? Like, if you had to make that decision now, like right now.
So if I get plugged in, when I go in there, I don't know anything. Like, I don't know that I had an old life.
No, you don't know anything about your old life. Your memory's wiped, and you just go in, and it's 1990. You wake up, and it's 1999. Now, what happens moving forward after that is all controlled by the machines. So, like, will all the things that happened after that still happen?
Right.
Like, will 9/11 still happen?
Well, based on the machine, we don't know, right? You're living in that machine's world.
And that's the thing. Like in the movie The Matrix, when it was made, they didn't know that was going to happen. So like the machines programmed a world that probably didn't happen. Right. So like you just lived in a world of like.
But you don't know what kind of world you're living in because once you get in there, you have no reference.
That's true.
Of an old life.
So that's true. So like if you could, so basically the question is like if you could go, I mean, and it's basically the same question, right? So Paul, if you could pick up right now, if I could say, Paul, I'm gonna wipe your memory and drop you back into 1999.
No,
would you do it?
The only way I would do it is if I was aware, conscious that I was in there, so they can allow me to, if I want to go to any year, why not? Like, it's like time traveling. Like, why not? That'd be cool.
But you got to stay there.
No.
Yeah.
You only get 1 year.
That's bullshit. Like,
we get to pick.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
You get to pick, and they drop you off in one specific year, and that's the only place you get.
I get that, but like it would be more enticing for people to want to maybe do it if they had the option to do so.
That's not the question we're asking.
I don't care. Then
no. Okay, you won't do it. Okay. No, I personally wouldn't do it because I mean, have
time travel.
Well, I mean, maybe. If I was
maybe bring it with you,
single, depressed, broke, maybe I don't know. If I was Raph,
Paul,
Raph, I probably would.
Jesus,
I meant to say Raph. Or Dozier. Sorry.
Damn it. Nah,
I'm just kidding.
I'm rolling with Raph on that one.
Yeah, I'd roll with Raph first.
But no, I don't.
For sure.
Man, I don't know. Nah. It's enticing. It's interesting to check out. I wouldn't mind hopping in, hopping back out.
Man, I would just love to.
So you'd be okay with it if you were just hopping in, hopping back out. If somebody
make it a weekend retreat.
Yeah. No. What I'm saying is like if somebody came right now and said, "You're living in a simulated reality. We have to start it over. you can either I can either pull you out of this reality and drop you into whatever the real world is, and you don't know what the real world is like.
Now, this is
or I can reset your entire life and you go back to 1999.
That's what he's gonna say, right?
Yeah, whatever. I was beating off in '99. You go back to beating off in '99. You go back to being in '99.
Well, it'd be cool eventually if they had the technology to where you can actually, the closest thing you can get to time travel is like what I said, like visit any year.
Yeah,
like that'd be cool. Like
well,
just
that's
through
time travel.
Well, no, what I'm saying, but simulating that a virtual like reality, like that's what I'm trying to say.
Well.
Yeah, like
create
I hate seeing like.
I get what you're saying. You're saying like
I'm just saying for
if it was virtual,
you know?
not real.
Yeah, like it's just, but it's simulated. It feels very real though. Either way, that's what I'm trying to say.
What if you don't? It creates the version where you don't even know.
No,
what's real or
well
not.
that's what I'm saying. Have the option to be aware, conscious about it or not. I would choose be conscious about it because. What I know, I'm just knowing, just like I want to explore this, like the 1940s or something. You know, just I want to go, experience it.
Question:
like,
when you buy a vehicle or when you buy
because
something,
the
do you read the manuals?
The contrast from what I contrast from what I know consciously, bringing that back with me to that year or whatever I choose, it's just it would be interesting. It's like, wow, this is how they do this back then, or like, man, just how the balance and attitude or people are with each other. Just to see, just being conscious, like because of that, I would want to do that. Like, but that'd be cool if they had something like that.
Right, but that's not the question.
I know that.
On this question.
I know that.
You read the manuals on everything you buy.
No,
Do you know that? Because
that.
you're like putting stipulations on a fucking question that has zero stipulations that you can put at. I want to know the answer.
I know that because I just wanted to say it. That's all. It was just killing me. It was killing me. I just wanted to say it.
Okay.
Okay, that's the question.
I get what you're saying now. You would like to time travel or virtual reality time travel, which wouldn't be realistic because you have no idea how the person programmed the virtual reality machine. It's all dependent on that. It's like Westworld.
That's another thing, though.
That's a simulated reality. What I'm asking is,
I know that.
If you found out tomorrow, if I said, hey, Paul, guess what? For real, this is the Matrix, and I have to reset the program. You can either have the opportunity, I can unplug you right now, and you go into the real world not knowing what the real world is. You have no idea. Or I reset you back into 1999. Your whole life, body, everything. You wake up tomorrow, and it's September 18th, 1999.
Make it 1998 instead.
So you can catch Warp Tour 98?
98, yes.
Warp Tour 98 with the Deftones? Yeah, all right, fine. Warp Tour 98 with the Deftones.
You got
nah.
The Deftones.
I wouldn't do it.
You wouldn't do it?
No.
You'd roll the dice and see, like, if you would roll the dice to see if possible, like the real world is better than a simulated reality that you already know how your life plays out from 99 to now. You already know what happens right then. You know, you're like, But when you go back to that point, you don't have any of your memories. But the thing you do know is that you do know that, like, from there to here, whatever happens in that span, you could go back and be like, I can try to force myself to make good decisions. I'm going to really try to think about this. And, you know, you don't know that whatever may or may not leak through. So, you know what I mean?
That's where we're at right now.
You're rolling the dice.
That's where we get the deja vu's from.
You're rolling the dice. So basically, the question is like, do you go back being like, I either relive my whole life from 99 to now with exactly the way as it is now, or I get unplugged from whatever this simulation is, and whatever the real world is, I have no idea what that is. I personally would roll the dice and be like, I know what that was like. I will take the enemy that I know rather than the enemy that I don't know.
I prefer.
Jake, how do you feel about that?
Nah, I think if I can't take my family with me, there's no point in.
But you know that, like, you and Megan were dating in '99. weren't you? Or you were close to it. But if your life
we're
ends up
not.
playing out the same
6.
way, you're going to end up.
You don't know that though, because what if I pick up a pencil instead of leaving it there, and that changes my whole fucking.
That's true. Okay, now we're getting into the Disney Plus shows. All right,
but it's like you don't know that
exactly. You don't that, but that's the roll of the dice. So you would rather say, "I'm going to unplug now." You don't know that if you unplug from the Matrix right now, that you would have
I'm a simple
the
man.
same life. Would you have a family at all? You know what I mean?
That's true.
You could unplug from the Matrix and be like, "Holy fuck, I'm really Raph in the real world."
No, the thing is that I'm the type of guy that is like, if it's not broke, why fix it?
But it's broke. Like
Now,
you
we
have to
don't know
make a
that.
decision. You could unplug and you could not have a family at all. That could all be a simulation.
It could be a simulation right now. That's where we get these deja vus.
That's true.
We don't know until we croak. But I'm not that type of person. I'm not a risk taker like that. I guess I'm risking by doing this fucking podcast. That's enough risk that I need in my life right now.
Risking.
I don't know.
It's
It'd
not,
be very interesting.
to me, it's not risk. It's throwing it away. Like from what I know,
From what you're throwing what away, but you don't. One of your choices is not to continue your life as it is right now. That's not one of the options.
Fuck it.
No, yeah, you would do it.
No, I wouldn't do it.
You would just be like, "I'll roll the dice and see what the real world's like."
Yeah, fuck it.
Well, yeah.
See, to me, that's the risk.
Is it?
Yes. You're talking about, no, I'm not going to go back and redo this. I know myself and I know the decisions that I've made, and I know that like if I go back to 99, I will most likely end up, if I have my mind wiped, I will end up probably back in the same decision. In the same circumstances.
You don't think there's a risk going back?
What risk? What the bigger risk is stepping into the complete unknown. You could get unplugged and you could be like, "Holy fuck! The real world is like the real world in the Matrix, where there's no fucking food.
A mind twist.
You know what I mean? There's nothing. Yeah. You live on a fucking.
What about the risk of like people doing stuff to your body while you're in the fucking Matrix?
Let them, baby.
It's like, look at this guy jerking them off.
I'm waiting for it.
I don't know, man. That's mind trippy, man. Like, what if we're in an alternate reality right now, and we're waiting to die and then we're going to be unplugged, and then we're going to relive our normal lives.
No, that like if you die in the Matrix, your body will be ground down and fed intravenously to the other people that are plugged into the Matrix, just like in the Matrix, the movie. It's funny because I've had all these same conversations with friends when the Matrix came out originally in 1999.
And here we are.
High as fuck, sitting around talking about like, what if we are in a computer simulation? Which is where the Matrix Resurrections is going. Like, if you look at like what's happening in the movie, if Thomas Anderson's character, like from what I read from the trailer, is correct, he's interpreting his dreams from his past lives as the anomaly, Neo, as fictional storylines that he is perpetrating into video games or movies or whatever. Because at the very end of the Matrix Resurrections trailer, he's sitting there talking to Jonathan Groff's character, who we don't know who it is, a psychiatrist of some kind, or his boss at the movie or video game company or whatever. And he says, "Wow, to go back to where it all started after all these years, to go back to the Matrix." He says that to Thomas Anderson so the Matrix is a pop culture thing. Right, you know what I mean? Right. It's such a mind fuck to think about it that way. You know what I mean? Like it's I don't know.
The explanations could be freaking endless, man.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
insane.
there really could be.
Like, what if we're like face to face with a speeding train, and right now what we're living is our life flashing before our eyes. Like right now, we're dying right now. There's a train coming, or you're dying
the minute you're born.
Hey, good, fair enough.
Let me tell you something.
The body can only be preserved for so long.
Let me tell you something. You never know what's going to take you out. You never know, like, is it going to be, crossing the street the wrong way? You don't know if cancer is going to get you. You don't know if
Norm Macdonald style.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know like if you're going to have some terminal illness and be and die young. You know what I mean? Like tomorrow is not a guarantee. So why worry about it? Like why not just live your life?
Fair enough. I think was it Neil deGrasse Tyson mentioned we were not alive millions and millions of years. Why does it matter if we die tomorrow? You're not gonna know. You're not gonna miss anybody. You're just gonna. You've been dead for millions and millions of years in the past. So it's an interesting perspective to think about it like that.
We live in a great time where you can go to 941 West 18th Street and head over to Eureka Heights and catch some Buckle Bunny or some Mini Boss or over Paul's head behind there some Space Train. I was waiting for a really heavy moment to plug Eureka Heights, like a nice little segue. There. So, make sure that, the tap room's open. So y'all head over there, 941 West 18th Street. If you see us on the street, ask. We'll give you some beer tokens, and you can use them over there and tell them Gentleman No Class sent you. And they may or may not kick you out. I'm not 100% certain on that, but I'm pretty sure that they will give you cool shit.
There. Oh yeah.
So
it's a fun place.
It is a fun place. And Thursday nights, Laces Out Running Club is back up and quote unquote running.
They were in.
So anyway, back to our discussion on the Matrix. I didn't mean to
you're
downer the whole Debbie thing.
No, there's something I was going to say, but I forgot. What is it? What are the odds of us living in a time where technology is booming the way it is, and where 150 years in the past, we would have been soaked around the same technology that's been around for thousands and millions of years.
Say that again?
So what are the odds of us being dropped in this life on this planet in a time where technology is booming so fast, so rapidly, that we really can do anything with a push of a button, whereas 150 years behind us, they were stuck at that same technology that lasted for thousands, millions of years before that.
Yeah, hundreds of years.
You know what I mean? So what are the odds? So what does that tell you? What if this is a repeat, or what if this is Jake fucking around with me as an alternate person or reality person and just pulling the strings? When we die, I'm gonna be like, haha, yeah, that was fun. I'm gonna go live my life now.
Yeah.
You just blew Paul's mind. Look at him.
Yeah.
So what? I mean, you're basically what you're.
What if there was no early 1900s?
Well, that's what you're proposing is that that's what the Matrix, the movie, was all about. Was that was humanity at the height of the 20th century, the peak of humanity because after that they invented AI and it really became the machine society. So if at that point, if you look at the 100 years that happened between, let's just say, 1909 to 2009, or call 1899 to 1999, that 100-year span, even that 50-year span from 1940 to 1990, the technology gap that happened there, if you really think about it, what year did Orville and Wilbur Wright fly the airplane?
Early 1900s.
Yeah.
1908, 1910?
Early 1900s.
Yeah, something around there.
In 1969, we landed on the fucking moon?
Yeah.
Allegedly. I'm a believer.
In 1947.
Roswell?
Yeah.
Aliens came here. Yeah.
If you really think about
that's
it,
where boom.
well,
really,
exactly. So if you really think about it, think about it like this: we had the horse and buggy for hundreds of years, and then the Industrial Revolution happened. What kickstarted the Industrial Revolution? People inventing machines to do people's work because people got fucking lazy.
Yeah,
what it was really, you know what I mean? And then what really
automation
ushered that way into even further was the invention of the microchip and transistors and things like that.
But how lucky are we though to live in this?
Grateful.
Right?
Lucky?
At the perfect time.
Lucky?
I mean, you want to go turn your AC off and live back then.
I mean,
come on. Seriously.
comparatively,
Yeah,
like for
go
real,
sleep outside for the night.
look,
huh?
Well, your body will be adjusted to that
like you're talking
Yeah.
like to the lifestyle I know now. To you want to remove me and drop me into the 1800s?
Yes.
Yeah, that's gonna suck.
Yes.
But if I was born in the
right now.
1800s, I wouldn't know any better.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, of course.
just like now, like
Yeah.
if it was the year fucking what year is it? 2021. If it was the year 2121. You know what I mean? And technology was so much better now.
8K cameras.
Yeah, like if we were living in Futurama times
Yeah.
and you were like,
Yeah.
what if I dropped you back in 2021? I'd be like, fuck that. That would suck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you don't know any better. You know, but
Yeah.
now we're like, yeah, we're living in the height of technology. It'll never
adapt.
get any better than this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like movies. I'm curious on the resolution. Like how do you get better than what it is today?
You were
4K.
in the movie. You become Wolverine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you become
Fuck
You're in
that.
the movie. Yeah, you keep topping
I like
that.
to, like I said,
closer.
I'm the type of person, and call me old school. I still like to see a little film burn, little pops
film,
in my screen.
actual film.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just me, but whatever. It seems too.
It's a dying
fake and
breed.
Digital.
It's all. It's getting all digital now.
Yeah, whatever.
Well, I mean, everything's digital. It's going to continue being
I like
digital.
a little analog
Yeah.
in my life every now and then.
Here.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
As we're doing a
That's what
complete
it is.
digital
It's just.
broadcast.
Hey, you know,
It's just evolution. It's gonna happen.
I'm swallowing liquid, not bits.
So I'm curious. I'm curious about this. Here's something that maybe Paul can answer for me.
Maybe.
So you deal with data cabling and stuff like that. What are the limitations of data cabling?
Data or data?
Whatever.
I'm just saying.
You know what I mean? Like, what's going to be faster than what's Cat 7? Like, how do you get faster than that on four double stranded wires? Do they have to have a new?
Interesting.
Is it fiber optics?
It's all
or-
the Cat 8 right now, actually.
And what's the difference between like a Cat 5 and a Cat 8? Like, what's the data? Well, I know
It's
Cat
just,
5 and Cat 6.
it's
There's
the
a big
bandwidth,
gap.
I believe, or they got some of them have it's the gauge of wire, and it's thicker, and
Thicker always better, huh?
it's got like strain reliefs and stuff like that in
That
there.
makes sense. But you throw
But
some
really,
glass in there, no?
fiber right now is like, I mean, that's the fastest connection right now. But for now, from when I took a class a few years ago, the guy was explaining, the teacher was explaining that right now, like the fiber has a lot of potential. Like the technology is just not there yet. It to reach its full, like it can. From what I know, it can. I mean, it can do a lot more. Right now than it can. It's just the technology providing it, like your switches,
right?
The power, the source basically
right.
Of it. Like it's not, it's gonna get better and better. Like we're talking about earlier about the what's called the processors and shit. Just like this, the same shit. It's just evolving. It's just they're trying to figure out how to improvement and make it faster.
What sucks about
utilize
that,
it
though, is
to
that
where
when they create a new technology for that means there's going to be fucking new lines being dropped, a lot of fucking ripping the ground up and throwing new lines in
there's a lot of there's a lot of old analog stuff that's
it's still on the
backbone.
ground. Yeah.
And I think it stays too, because like that's digital, like you can still rely on analog lines for emergencies. That's got to be there for that. Like it's like with no power, you don't need power for that.
Yeah, that's true.
But most phones are digital. Like if people do have them or use them,
voice over IP.
it's digital.
But I mean, like old phones, you had to plug them in and be connected to the phone line. But like some of the older phones would draw their power directly from the phone line, so they would work even if like the phone lines were down or But I mean, you still have to have power to them. You know what I mean? It's not.
Well,
like,
no.
What do you mean not necessarily? If they draw their power, the power has to come from somewhere. It doesn't come out of fucking pure fucking magic.
I'm not talking. I'm talking.
But chances are,
yeah, I am too.
No, I'm talking about you plug it in. If it's connected, there's power out there from the line, you'll still get a phone line.
You're still pulling power. You still require power. If the power's out
in your home, I get that.
No, the power's out. The power's out. Like the grid's down. Like,
but if it's analog, it'll still connect. That's what I'm trying to get at.
No, it won't.
It won't.
No,
you sure?
The power has to come from somewhere. If the grid's down, the grid's down.
You're saying the grid. I'm saying the house. Your house is out of power.
How would the house be down and like? What they shut your power off? But
I don't know.
So you can't pay your power bill, but you can pay your phone bill.
No. Those ties they're pretty far ties, the cable ties, these backbones. So there could be that could be unaffected. And a lot of times, when the power went off, I remember what's called the old my old parents' house. The phone would work.
Yeah,
it just depends if it's unaffected. But the
if
point
it's
is
off of that
the
particular
point is
grid.
The whole point of that is just basically chances are emergencies that's your best bet.
Right.
It's not a surefire thing, but everything everything else is going to be powered down. But that might has a higher chance of being active, being able to work.
Yeah.
So that's why they still require, or they're going to always I believe
code
just
have one.
They're just going to at least for emergency for certain areas around the country there's so many like I said old just backbones, just network of old copper ties. So just. Yeah.
Well, so here's the thing.
Crazy.
So Rob's wrong.
I remember reading.
No, I mean, yes. I mean, in that particular instance that you're talking about,
updating that is
tag team in here.
billions to update it
yourself, right?
too.
Okay, so but that's going to be antiquated at some point because even with digital technology, AT&T is shutting down its 3G network starting in February of 2022.
5G, huh?
Yeah. I mean, everybody got the vaccine, so there's 5G everywhere, right? That's what Cliff says. But I mean, you know what I mean? Eventually that technology.
I barely heard it. It's great.
At least that technology, at least that technology, it was there, but it's gone. You know what I mean? That 3G technology is leaving.
Yeah.
So. It's just like anything else.
I think eventually,
it's going to be antiquated at some point and be removed.
When they figure out a solution to where it's something to substitute it, the next best thing, they'll figure it out.
So fuck stick.
Yeah.
That'll last whenever martial law kicks in. From
Tekken,
the purge,
the purge.
The fucking that's when we go purging.
Jeez, we're
I think you're talking about Tekken.
Yeah.
Tekken? What the fuck is a Tekken?
The game, video game.
What is it?
Tekken.
Eddie,
the one that does the flips and shit.
Whoa, yeah.
Fucking that's everybody's go-to fucking character.
Yeah.
Fucking lazy
I don't know
bastards.
what you're talking about.
Tekken.
Game, no.
Arcade. It came to the PlayStation. It was
Tekken
a huge
1, 2,
arcade game.
I don't know that game.
Showing your age, Rob.
That doesn't mean you.
That's another thing, man. You want to be a gold mine? Maybe for people like us.
What?
Investing into a fucking arcade, like a room, joysticks and maybe even speeds.
No kids, no fucking kids.
But
and
for us,
drinks.
our age,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. You don't allow kids in.
No, even it's gotta be the minimum age. It's gotta be 35 too.
I would.
I don't want that. I don't.
I
go.
Fuck that.
I'd go 18.
Fuck them.
I go 18.
they don't deserve
I'm talking
it.
about, man,
this is our
You're
thing.
talking about a Dave and Buster's.
Yeah, but this is
not contract.
This is our thing. Our generation.
Miss Pac-Man, Terminator with a fucking Uzi and shit.
Oh,
Lethal Enforcers with a fucking 6-shooter, pink and blue gun.
Time Cop and shit.
Time Cop, shit like that, man.
Like the old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game that nobody could possibly beat.
Oh man.
Battle Frogs.
Battle Toads or
yeah, whatever. Battle Toads, Battle Frogs, whatever. Same shit.
I got you. But
isn't that voted the hardest game of all time?
Yes, I think it was. I never played it.
There's no end to that game. Man, I remember having that game. I'm like, I cannot get past the first fucking level. This game sucks ass.
Yeah, I don't think I ever played it.
We are way off topic. By the way, anybody tuning in right now, this is what we started talking about, which is the Matrix Resurrection. Now we're talking about Battletoads. So this is where we're at. Welcome to the Riddlin Society.
Yeah, that's just how you guys do it.
That's the new name of the podcast, the Riddlin Society.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I guess
so
nice.
Anyway, I guess on that note, I guess we've pretty much wrapped this episode up talking about
the time has
especially
expired.
since Jake didn't watch the Matrix Resurrections.
Well, I mean,
I keep giving him shit.
Yeah, it's okay. I want to watch that.
You didn't watch What If either.
I did. No,
not
I did.
all of
this
it.
motherfucker didn't watch What If.
Yeah, half an episode.
He's like, yeah, I watched it. I watched half an episode.
Yeah.
You fucking
He read
cock.
the Cliff Notes, and it was just his
Welcome.
dad, Cliff, telling him so he could take notes.
Yeah. Here's the Cliff Notes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Cliff.
Yeah. It's all the fucking Republicans or the Democrats. They did it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Libtards.
Libtards. There you go.
You got to throw
Libtards.
a punch at it. Libtards. Or what other fucking comical name did you Cunt. There you go. That's another one.
We haven't heard this
Long
one.
live the blue.
We haven't heard this one in a while.
Hey, all you cool cats and kittens.
Terrible.
And
on that note,
Still hate it.
I have been Rob.
And I'm Jake.
No, say it again so you're on camera.
Paul. What?
Paul? I just heard a breath.
All I heard
Paul.
was Paul.
Paul, you say?
Yeah.
All right. And let's just roll that outro music so we can talk shit.
What outro music?
Oh, no?
We'll catch you on the next
Okay.
one.
Thank you. All right. I need to slam some like heroin. I'll do this
You
song
need
one
to
more
slam
time.
some heroin.
Go do the
Yeah,
song one
that
more
would
time.
sound so much
Oh, we're going to be
better.
playing this song. It's a thing now. Like, now you have to play it every
Thank you.
outro. I don't know that we can get away with doing an episode without playing this song.
Yeah, you can.
My boss just called me saying I'm taking a pay cut because we're playing this song too. God damn it.
Well, get us a new song and we'll
Taking it
debut
very
at episode 100. We'll debut a new
Okay,
song.
there you go.
It's going to be this song with the remix. Is what Paul's going to write for us. It's not going to be called The Ride Home. It's going to be called The Ride Back to Work.
Right back there. It's gonna be called No More Rides on this fucking Uber.
It's going to be called Go Fuck Yourself is what it's going to be called.
There you go. Oh man, I love it.